Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a foundation roundup. All of those new foundation releases from the month of August that I did videos on, we are going to be rating those from worst to best, and that way you guys can see which ones I kind of disliked the most and which ones I love, and they're part of my favorite foundations now. So before we get started, please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to do it before you leave. If this is the first time watching one of my videos, my name is Patty and I would love it if you went ahead and hit that red subscribe button down below. If you come up with any questions during the video, make sure to leave them in the comments section. I always respond to your guys' questions, and with that said, let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, a quick couple of things because I always get the question. I am wearing the Alamar Cosmetics palette. I used Coco Taxi on the crease. This Guantanamera color is my outer corner, and then El Malecon on the eyelid, and this one on the inner corner called La Costa. And that is what is on my eyes right now. On my lips, I have three products. I have a lip liner from Bite in 020. I think these have been discontinued but might be coming back. My lipstick is from Sephora collection Lip Stories, and it is number 1, which is called Brunch Dates. And then I have the ColourPop I Love Sarai collaboration gloss on top, and this one is called Glass Lip. I also have a little wing, which you guys know I very rarely do eyeliner, but I was just trying to do something different. Okay, let's get started with today's video. So the month of August was the month of foundation releases. I think like 9 to 10 new foundations came out. I personally tried and made first impressions / reviews of 7 of the foundations that launched in the month of August. It was the 7 that I was the most interested in. The main reason I didn't try the milk one, which a couple of you asked for, was because it is a stick foundation. I've never had luck with those, and I didn't feel like it was fair to compare a stick foundation with a bunch of liquid foundations. And then the Shiseido one kind of came out last minute, and it seems like a cool one, but I don't know, it just didn't spark my interest. I think by the time it came out I was a bit saturated with foundations too, so that one is also not part of this video. I went ahead and linked the foundation videos I'm talking about in the description box down below, and that way if you guys want to check out any of those videos out and see my first impression on the foundation and what I thought about it, just go ahead and click on the link in the description and it'll take you to that video. I'm also going to link a playlist that has every single foundation review on my channel, and that way you guys can see not just the ones that just came out but any other past foundation reviews I've done. In fact, the link to that playlist is going to be right there on that eye. Okay, so if you watched any of those foundation videos I'm talking about, you know that I was very impressed with some and not so impressed by others. I say that to say that none of the foundations that I'm talking about in this video are horrible. They kind of all worked for me to some extent, but I do have to rate them from worst to best. So I'm not bashing any foundation that I'm talking about. I'm just saying it didn't work as well as the ones that are closer to number 1. I also want to let you guys know my skin type in case you guys haven't watched any of those videos. I have very dry skin around my mouth area. I have very dry cheeks, and then my forehead has normal skin that can sometimes get a little shiny. But overall, I just say that I have dry skin, and I treat my skin like dry skin even though my forehead is more on the normal side. One of the main issues I have with foundation is that throughout the day they get extremely dry around my mouth area because that is the driest area of my face. And now that you have all of that information, let's get started with the foundation that came in at number 7, and that is the Anastasia Luminous Foundation. This foundation retails at $38, and one of the main reasons why it came out last is because it has the word luminous in the name. The foundation on me wore very matte for the first 8 hours of me wearing it. It looked kind of dry around my mouth, and it just had no shine at all throughout. And it's saying it was a luminous foundation. It was one of the foundations that I was most like excited to try. After our number like 7 or 8, it actually did become a bit more luminous on me and it looked really nice, but for the majority of the time that I wore the foundation, it looked kind of dry and it was disappointing to me. Besides that, it just also didn't have anything that blew me away, and that is why the Anastasia Luminous Foundation comes in at number 7. Now moving on to number 6, is I think this might be the one that was the most hyped. My number 6 is the Fenty Pro Filter Hydrating Foundation. Now this one was like a full coverage natural finish foundation. This Fenty Beauty foundation retails for $35. And the main thing I didn't like about it was kind of like the thickness of it. I just felt like it was a bit heavy on my skin and it looked a little like foundation-y on me, which I just don't really like that look. Besides that, I could use it. I just was not blown away by that one either. My very dry skin really didn't find anything very hydrating about it either. I didn't feel like I got any hydration from it. It was just very meh. It was just a natural finish, didn't feel any hydration, full coverage, kind of thick foundation on me. And then we are going to foundation number 5, and number 5 is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Foundation. And that foundation has a matte finish and a medium coverage. Now, having a matte finish, I would honestly expect that foundation to be the last on my list, but it is coming in at number 5, and that is because it is a very thin foundation with a good coverage. So it being thin, it just kind of agrees with my dry skin more. It did get a little dry around my mouth, I remember, but that was kind of to be expected because it is a matte finish foundation. Like, I shouldn't even be messing with that, and I feel like if I put a little bit of extra moisturizer or like oil around my mouth area, that would not have happened. It wore so beautiful on me throughout the day. It lasted forever. I loved the coverage. I loved how thin the foundation is. It's kind of like very undetectable. Again, the only area that it kind of affected me was around my mouth, but like everything else looked really, really nice. So the matte foundation from Urban Decay comes in at number 5. This Urban Decay Stay Naked Foundation retails for $39. Let's move on to number 4, and number 4 was very, very surprising to me. Number 4 is the Matte Perfection Tinted Moisturizer by Sephora collection, and this one retails for only $18. Crazy, right? So I really, really like this tinted moisturizer from Sephora collection. I was really kind of blown away by it. It is super thin and it has a beautiful natural finish with a like sheer to medium coverage. It wore nicely throughout the whole day. It did not get dry around my mouth. It claims to have a matte finish, but it being a tinted moisturizer, really the finish was more on the natural side, and it just felt like I was not wearing anything, yet my skin looked really nice and even. I was kind of blown away by the amount of coverage it had. It was more like on the medium side because it was very buildable, and I mean $18, you just cannot beat that price. So that is why that tinted moisturizer by Sephora collection comes in as number 4. So we have 3 foundations to go. The first few places, if you've watched any of the videos or just like scroll down to my list of foundations, you know exactly which foundations are coming. And I have to tell you guys that it was really, really hard to decide what foundation to put in which place, because the 3 foundations that were missing, I just liked them all for different reasons, and I like them all for different occasions, and I really like just feel like for different things they're all my number 1, okay? And I'm going to just go ahead and mention to you guys the ones that like were missing, and I'll tell you what they're my number 1 for. If I were to be looking for a glamorous dewy skin foundation and I wanted my skin to look very radiant and like flawless, then my number 1 foundation would be the Pat McGrath foundation. That foundation is the most expensive of the bunch. It retails for $68, but it just looks like you have supermodel skin. Honestly, it is like Photoshop in a foundation. It's amazing, very expensive, but it's just beautiful, right? If I'm looking for an everyday natural looking foundation with a medium coverage, my number 1 would be the Stila one, because it's $39. It's not too expensive, and it just gives me a really beautiful natural everyday look. And then if I were to be looking for a foundation that would give me a full coverage, glamorous look, my number one foundation would be the Charlotte Tilbury foundation. This foundation retails for $44, so it's not a bad price for a luxury brand, and it is a beautiful natural finish, really, because it says it's matte finish, but even on my dry skin it looks more like a natural finish foundation, even if I don't use any kind of like dewy setting spray on top. And I love how full coverage that Charlotte Tilbury foundation is, and how it doesn't look dry on my dry skin. So now that you know what my preferences are as far as those three foundations and what each one of those are my number one for, I did of course rate them from 3 to 1 as well, because that's what this video is about, okay? So my actual number 3 foundation I decided is the Stila one, just because I feel like if money didn't matter, I could also use the Pat McGrath for every day and get a very similar effect, in fact a little bit dewier. So Stila is my number 3 foundation from the ones we've tried. With that said, I freaking love that Stila foundation. I just think that it looks absolutely beautiful on, and I love how thin it is. I think one of my favorite things from the Stila foundation is how thin it is, because it just feels like you're not wearing anything. Yeah, it gives you a really nice medium coverage. At number 2, I have the Pat McGrath foundation, and the reason I decided Pat McGrath was my number 2 and not my number 1 was mainly because after quite a few hours, and it was a bunch, like 10 hours or something like that, it did get a teeny tiny bit dry around my mouth area. And the second deciding factor for the Pat McGrath foundation not to be my number 1 foundation is of course the price. I just think that $68 is just quite pricey for a foundation, no matter how beautiful that packaging is, okay? $68 is a little expensive. So that is the 2 reasons why Pat McGrath comes in at number 2. But you guys, if you've watched that video, you know I love that Pat McGrath foundation. I don't think I've ever had a foundation that gives me that beautiful dewy look that I love. It is thin, it just is absolutely amazing. And if you have dry skin and you like to look glowy, then I definitely recommend the Skin Fetish foundation by Pat McGrath. And so of course that leaves the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Longwear foundation to be our number 1 foundation out of all of the ones we've tried. And the main reason Charlotte comes in at number 1 is that no matter how long I wear it and no matter how long I have it on, it does not ever get dry around my mouth area. I was so impressed the day that I made the first impressions on that foundation, because it never ever got dry around my mouth, and I wore it for over 12 hours. And it claims to be a full coverage matte foundation. It definitely is a beautiful full coverage. Again, on me it wore more on the natural finish side. In fact, that is the foundation that I'm wearing today. I do not have a dewy spray on. I just use the Lancome setting spray over it, and as you can see, my skin does not look super dewy, but it also doesn't look matte. It has a very nice natural finish with a beautiful full coverage, and it retails for $44. So Charlotte Tilbury is my number 1 foundation that I have reviewed in the past month. I think that the only thing that the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish foundation has over the Charlotte one is that it's a little thinner and more dewy, so I kind of like the look of that better. But you know, like longevity wise and how it wore all day, the Charlotte foundation definitely wins. Okay, so I would like to hear you guys sound off in the comment section down below, and I want you to tell me what your biggest surprise was. If you were expecting any of these foundations to come in a little further up or further down my rating of foundations from worst to best. I also would like to know if you've tried any of these foundations that we're talking about. which one it is and whether or not you've been loving it for your skin type. I want you guys to take this rating from worst to best video with a grain of salt. We all have different skin types, so all of these foundations will work different on our different skin types. So I'm sure that if most of you were to try these exact same 7 foundations, your rating would be different. Don't forget to please like the video if you guys liked it, and don't forget to please subscribe to my channel if you're new here or if you just haven't done it yet. Go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye!